no disagree. We'll do that. He does not run against him.
On January 2nd, 2015, adequate notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been furnished by inclusion hereof in the annual schedule of meetings for 2015, which has been posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, filed with the Borough Clerk, faxed to the Hour Town, the Record, the Community News, and the county newspapers, and distributed to all persons if any requesting copies or same pursuant to said act. In case of an emergency or fire alarm, you must evacuate the building by using any of the exit doors in the room. They are immediately to my right, and the double doors at the rear of the room. Occupants must exit the building by using the staircase and not the elevator. This meeting is being recorded by both video and audio and may be rebroadcast.
Please join me in salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Fabre.
Here.
Council members. Gervino.
Here.
DeHere.
Here.
Eisenberg.
Here.
Messer.
Here.
Lindenau.
Here.
Maroney.
Here.
Borough Attorney Ronald Daria.
Here.
Borough Administrator Roberta Stern.
Here.
Borough Clerk Jean Pellegra is here.
Okay, Mr. Cavelli is going to give a presentation. He's walking in right now as we speak.
Yes.
Mr. Cavelli, you are up.
I
You
am.
need some time? Or?
No, it's fine.
I'm ready. All right.
Thank you very much. Mayor, I gave the extras to the police department and said you sent it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. The original routine to the file. Good evening to you all. I will be presenting to you this evening the annual report or the state of the insurance for the municipality relative to your membership in the Bergen County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. Gene, if you'd like one for the auditor. Thank you. You're fine? This okay? Oh. Forget you're sitting over here at the kitchen.
That's okay.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, our report is in its normal fashion. It's on the right-hand side of the packet, and it is broken down by recent developments within the Joint Insurance Fund, fund statistics, synopsis of coverages, lost time accident frequency, and financial information relative to the funds that you're a member of. So I'll move right along, and I don't want to overstay my welcome, or I won't be welcome to stay, as Reader's Digest says. Recent developments, property coverages. This is something I alerted you to last year, and that was that the Mel rewrote the property form, and this is a result of Superstorm Sandy, and the fact that the policy, when you have situations like that, you find out what needs to be corrected. You tabletop what happened, what went wrong, and how to address it going forward. We had some ambiguities in the policy that led to interpretations by FEMA that the MEL should pay for property in the open. So, for example, go down the shore and you see that snow fence set up, it's $3 a foot. How many miles of it do you see down there? Something you would expect FEMA to pay for if you had a major storm. FEMA said, no, your policy looks like it should cover that. They stuck the MEL with that. All of the boardwalk is owned by the state of New Jersey, but all of the apartments that you put on the boardwalk, the railing, the benches, the lights, the trash receptacles, etc., all owned by the municipality, and FEMA said you should pay for that. So as a result, there was a change. We really didn't have a problem here in the northern part of the state, by the way, but out of this process came a rewrite of the property policy and the use of the Zurich Edge form, which Zurich is the excess property carrier, and using their form, which is a municipal-based form, it's for their public entity clients. Does not take any coverage away from you, but it further defines, from a contractual standpoint, what is going to be insured by the Joint Insurance Fund and what we should be aptly getting back from in disaster aid. Some definitions, which I just went through: the property in the open, Emergency vehicle is just further defined that if a vehicle, an emergency service vehicle, apparatus, or an ambulance were to be refurbished, that it has to meet standards before the JIF will cover it on a replacement cost basis, and scheduling of fine arts and some watercraft. The Mel out of the process also elected to purchase an additional $25 million of excess property coverage, bringing the total limit to $125 million statewide. So we were at $100 million, we went to $125 statewide. Flood also increased from $50 million in a special flood hazard area, from $50 million to $75 million. You see that listed there, and you see the other sublimits as well. All right. The Environmental Joint Insurance Fund, for which you are a member, also rewrote their policy, not because of a storm, but because it was 20-year-old language, and it was time to refresh that and bring it more into line with current standards and expectations. In short, and I'll move this along, it went from a named peril coverage to a broad form. So in other words, unless it's excluded, it's covered, as opposed to saying what's covered. It's actually a nicer form, so when we get into those gray areas, it usually extends coverage, which is a good thing. All right. Safety is on page 4, and we've gone over this in the elected officials training before we left, just all of the enhanced training that the fund is providing to ensure your OSHA, POSHA required training. And perhaps, Mayor, this is a good time to put on the record that the Borough of Maywood won the second highest safety award at the safety breakfast last month for the South Bergen JIF. So Maywood was in competition with 22 other municipalities south of Route 4, and you beat everyone but Fort Lee. You were tied with Fort Lee. And the two of you, both Fort Lee and this municipality, have a tremendous safety record, and you are to be commended, as well as Roberta and the employees, for an outstanding job in your safety compliance and how low your safety accidents are overall. Gene does a nice job heading up the safety committee, and the municipality does well. So you are to be commended. I'd like to put that on the record. Page 5 is for informational purposes, and I'm going to run through the coverages very quickly just to refresh you on what it is we're covering. All of the buildings and contents of the municipality are covered on a replacement cost basis. Extra expenses included, so if, God forbid, we had a fire here at the municipal building, we had to rent office space, we had to incur additional costs that we wouldn't incur if we were in our municipal building. Those costs would be covered up to the statewide limit listed. Valuable papers, if, God forbid, there was a fire and we had to pay to reclaim records or acquire those records, and the costs would all be covered. Electronic data processing and communications equipment is all covered on a replacement cost basis. The JIF provides flood coverage. Outside of the flood zone, they provide $1 coverage, so it's subject to our normal $2,500 deductible. And inside the flood zone, for which the municipality does not own any municipally owned properties within the flood zone, it's different. It's subject to the National Flood Insurance Program. All right, the JIF is providing earth movement coverage, boiler and machinery coverage, and again, all of your property losses are subject to a $2,500 deductible, unless it's boiler and machinery, where it's a $5,000 deductible. The JIF is providing all of your physical damage for your automobile fleet and mobile equipment. Remember, when we use the term automobile fleet, we're not just talking about cars, we're talking about the DPW trucks, the fire apparatus, the ambulances, police cars, and the like. All that equipment is covered on an actual cash value basis, just like your personal auto policy or a business policy, with the exception of the fire apparatus and the rigs, the ambulances. So if we had a 10-year-old ambulance that was totaled, and that rig cost $100,000 when you bought it, and it now costs $150,000 to put the same rig in the bay, the JIF's going to give you $150,000. In fact, you had a neighboring community, who shall remain nameless, that had that happen a number of years ago. The JIF is also providing a very unique coverage called physical damage reimbursement for your emergency service volunteers. So there, your fire or ambulance are responding to or from a call. They're in an at-fault accident with their own vehicle, and they have a $500 deductible. We're going to reimburse them their deductible. Or if they have an older vehicle, they don't have collision coverage, we'll pay them up to $2,500 to either fix or get another car, whatever the case may be. Nice little coverage for your emergency service volunteers that are responding at all times on behalf of the municipality. On page 8, liability coverage, the joint insurance fund is providing your automobile liability, your general liability including medical malpractice, emergency response teams, public nurse, 911 dispatch, Good Samaritan, law enforcement, police professional, employee benefits liability. You see the municipality's limit of liability listed in the middle of the page, and this is a combination of self-insurance through the South Bergen JIF, self-insurance at the municipal excess liability or MEL level, and reinsurance policies purchased above $1,750,000 on the commercial market. So the MEL is going out on behalf of 550 public entities statewide, and they are securing this coverage for them in excess of that self-insured retention. Terrorism coverage has been and continues to be provided to your member. Because the policies in excess of the $18 million are conventional reinsurance, you see that there are some sublimits. There's failure to supply, riot and civil commotion, skateboard facilities, quasis, and mold and fungus that is directly associated with a covered claim. Otherwise, it's excluded, but if it's associated, there is a sublimit of $1 million. As with any policies, there's also exclusions. If you look at the top of page 9, asbestos, lead, pollution liability is part of the general liability. You get some of that back through the EGIF, through the Environmental Joint Insurance Fund. Dams, reservoirs, watercraft over 32 feet, lawns, trees, bushes, and shrubs, land, underground gas pipes, and any underground piping in excess of 1,000 feet of a covered location. Sewer backup claims are the only general liability claim that has a deductible, and that's $1,000 per occurrence. Additional coverages that are not part of the general liability limit include cyber liability. This is a coverage that I told you in the past the JIF was acquiring. It's now in place. It's now part of the regular report. And this is a fully insured product that they purchased through Excel Insurance Company, and it's providing third-party coverage. So any claims made against the municipality for media communications, network security liability, or privacy are covered, as well as any first-party claims generated by the municipality, extortion, threat, crisis management, business interruption, and privacy notification. You see the limit of liability listed is shared among all municipalities, and it's $1 million per occurrence and $3 million aggregate, which quite frankly is a little low when you think that 23 municipalities have to share that limit. To date, it has not been a problem, but I will tell you that the underwriting manager is looking to expand those limits going forward. All right? Public officials liability, employment practices liability. You see the limit of liability maintained by the municipality, and you will also note that the municipality maintains an approved loss control program. That means every 2 years we have to file our policies and procedures manual with the municipality. We have to make any applicable updates that they require of that. That's a process that the borough attorney, the borough administrator, and myself work through, as well as having to conduct training here both for supervisors and for employees and the like. So the municipality has been consistent in maintaining an approved loss control program, and that basically means that you have the most favorable rating when it comes to your co-insurance and your deductible on the program. And you'll see what those are on the top of page 10. The JIF is providing blanket crime and bond coverages, so they're providing public employee dishonesty, forgery and alteration, theft, disappearance and destruction, robbery and safe burglary, computer fraud and funds transfer. They're also providing public officials bond coverage with respect to the statutory positions of treasurer, tax collector, and a blanket bond for the municipal court. They're meeting all of your requirements in accordance with workers' compensation statute in the state of New Jersey, meaning coverage A, which is the medical and indemnity, and coverage B, employer's liability. Top of page 11, they're providing all of the environmental liability. So for examples of coverage, recycling centers, petroleum storage tanks, hazmat operations, and Superfund buyout. And you see the limit of liability listed, and defense costs are included in that limit of liability. As comprehensive as the GIF program is, there are a couple of policies that we secure for you outside in the conventional market because they're not available through the GIF. That's an accident and health policy that covers the fire department, fire police, first aid, special police, and Office of Emergency Management. There's also an accident policy for the volunteer workers and for summer camp program. Without question, the Joint Insurance Fund continues to provide you broader coverage than is available in the conventional market at a notable savings for the municipality. I'm going to call your attention to Appendix A, where the lost time accident frequency of the South Bergen GIF is listed. These numbers are as of 12/31/13 because when the report was done, 14 numbers were not available. They had not been finalized. I can tell you that the South Bergen GIF was about 2.51 for 2014. In other words, 2.51 lost time accidents per 100 employees. A lost time accident is someone out of work 8 days or longer. And you flip to Appendix B, you see where Maywood stacked up. And actually, you see the figures that in 2011 and 12, Maywood beat the fund. In 13, they beat the fund. In 14, Maywood had an outstanding record closer to that of 2012 with regard to the lost time accident frequency. So again, a consistent performer in the GIF. I also want to note that was under, for those of you that may have forgotten what the winter of 13-14 was like, because you've just been through the winter of 14-15, which wasn't too nice. But 13-14 was no picnic for those of you that remember. So we did what you saw happen in 13 in terms of the uptick in lost time accidents. We had more slips and falls. We had more injuries because of the severe winter we had in 13-14. All right? Appendix C, and I'm getting towards the end of the report. The key financials as of 12/31/13, which are audited numbers. We have not gotten numbers for 14 audited as of yet, but you will see cash on hand in the South Bergen GIF of $13 million, return of surplus in the form of dividends of $19 million, and a net statutory surplus of $8 million. The MEL had $64 million of cash on hand, return of surplus of $44 million, and a net statutory surplus of $15.7 million. By the way, the unofficial numbers for the MEL in 2014 are $17.1 million, and I think I told you in the elected officials training that we have $145 million of surplus statewide. Remember, you are the owner of the Joint Insurance Fund. Maywood is an owner. You own the proportionate share of that $8 million that you see listed as surplus. The EGIF, actually of the surplus of all of the funds listed here. The EGIF had $25 million of cash on hand, return of surplus of $8 million, and a net statutory surplus of $12 million. And if you go to Appendix D, this is a chart that tracks all of the dividends that have been returned to the municipality since you joined the South Bergen GIF. And I will tell you that in 2014, the municipality received slightly higher than the 2013. So in 13, you received $19,000 back. Roberta, I'm going to say it was about $22,000, $23,000?
I think so.
That sound about right? So if you look at the total number, and if I may, Mayor, the municipality has received over $1 million, $1,038,683 back in dividends from the program, again, not including the 2014 dividend. And that concludes my report. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Cabral?
Okay. Thank you all. Good evening. Thank you for participating in the training tonight. As I said upstairs, Mayor, the municipality earned a $2,000 credit on the insurance for 2015 for your participation. We appreciate it. All right. Good evening to you.
Okay. For the Borough Engineer.
Honorable Mayor and Council, Greg Poliniak. Tonight we've issued an engineer's report dated April 10th for tonight's meeting. The first item is the Economic Recovery Program. As requested by the governing body, our office contacted the Borough of Paramus's engineer as it related to the stream cleaning for the Hanjin property to have that property owner sign off on the easement. The borough engineer in Paramus recommended that the DPW from the Borough of Maywood contact the Borough of Paramus to do a joint service with respect to removing some debris and sticks and logs from the stream to hopefully eliminate that issue with respect to getting Hanjin to sign off on the easement. Then the project could move forward accordingly. The next item on the list is the finalization of the East Hunter Avenue, Spring Valley Road, and West Fairmont Avenue project. The contractor still owes us a ADA parking sign within the West Fairmont Avenue parking lot. Once that one punch list item is completed, we'd close the project out. That should occur within the next week to 2 weeks. The other two items on the report relate to last month's presentation as it related to the PSE&G improvements on Central Avenue and the 69 KV line. I have no further information to present at this time, but there will be future meetings that will be scheduled at Borough Hall. We'll alert you to when those occur so that if you'd like to attend, you could attend. The next item relates to the Maywood Avenue Streetscape project. Our office attended a meeting with the Borough Administrator and Borough Attorney as it related to this project and discussions on how we would address some of the streetscape improvements outside of the right-of-way on the private property in between the right-of-way to the building wall of those individual businesses. Our office is going to provide 4 separate cost estimates to the borough, and then at that time we'd schedule a second meeting to review strategy as it relates to the project. It should be noted that this project must be awarded in November 22nd, 2015, in order not to jeopardize the grant. So the borough does have some time, but the project should move forward at this point in time so that those funds aren't jeopardized. The West Pleasant Avenue traffic circulation, the striped islands, the construction should occur in May of this upcoming, next month. The issue again was just to ensure the adherence of the placement of the painting so that it adheres and that the temperature is a steady 60 degrees over the overnight hours so that the material adheres. The seventh item on our list relates to the drunk driving and drug-free zone map. Our office, per the governing body's authorization, revised the map and issued it for consideration. The eighth item on the list relates to the peerless firehouse and the driveway apron and the temporary repair that's to occur. We understand that Marini Brothers has been authorized by the borough to address that slab. At this point in time, I know the borough administrator has contacted Marini, and they intend to either perform the work late this week or early next week, and at that time we'll be present to inspect what occurs and what's occurring below grade at that location. The ninth item on the list relates to the Maywood Avenue subdivision, 370 Maywood Avenue. Today, our office attended a meeting with the borough administrator, the borough attorney, the applicant, and the applicant's engineer. Reviewed our review letter that was submitted as it relates to plans that were submitted on April 7th. On April 2nd, our office issued an April 7th letter to address what we thought were the borough's concerns as it related to ordinances. During the meeting, the developer recognized that there would need to be additional landscaping proposed on site, additional drainage, such as a curtain drain, which would be located along the rear property line, to capture that stormwater runoff and take it out of the flow from overland to the adjoining property owner. So they do recognize that, but there are plans that need to be submitted. They've informed our office and also the borough that they intend to submit documents by the end of the week for our office to review.
Greg, can you tell me what a curtain drain is?
Sure. A curtain drain, and we were discussing it with the applicant, would be a stone trench, approximately 3 feet in width, which would be a yard wide, a yard deep. It would contain a perforated pipe within it. It would be lined with filter fabric so that weeds and sediment doesn't accumulate within it. And what it does is it behaves similar to a seepage pit. And what would happen is the flow, as it flows down the slope, would be captured by this curtain drain, would then infiltrate into the ground, be taken out of the flow and not accumulate on the adjoining property owner's property. In addition, behind that curtain train, there would be a raised soil berm with arborvitaes planted above it to screen it and also to provide another mechanism to block the stormwater runoff, a permanent mechanism to block the stormwater runoff from going onto those adjoining properties. So those are some solutions that we've reviewed with the applicant. They seemed amenable to addressing them at the meeting. There may also need to be some additional stormwater management, such as additional seepage pits, and we'll work with the engineer to ensure that whatever improvements are required will be constructed at this property.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
When they put a perforated pipe
Mhm.
down underneath,
Mhm.
and the water runs into it, where does it run?
Yeah, what it does is it creates additional volume within the trench. If you think of stone...
It's captured within the trench? and it doesn't-
Correct. It's captured within the trench, and what the pipe does is add additional storage volume. With gravel or stone, you have just the void volumes in between the stone. With the pipe inside of it, it's an entirely open area. You can hold more stormwater to permit it to infiltrate into the ground.
What is the projected timeframe?
Sure. Again, as mentioned, the applicant intends to submit revised documents at the end of the week. They've denoted that at the meeting today. Subsequent to it, we would review it expeditiously. Within a day or two, we would have a review letter as it relates to it. The applicant does have their COs being held up on two houses until this item is addressed, so it behooves them also. They mentioned it during the meeting. They want to move this forward as quickly as possible so that they can sell the houses.
And we're pretty confident that this is going to solve the problem that they've experienced?
It will address the additional runoff as it relates to the development, but there is an issue with the adjoining properties that low points exist on those properties. So any runoff related to their own individual properties where the water was ponding previously will continue to accumulate and pond. But the water runoff as it relates to this subject property will be captured by that curtain drain.
So is that 3 foot by 3 foot area going to be across all 4 properties?
It would extend across the full length of the property along that back fence.
Are we requiring the performance bond? Did we require performance?
We've issued a letter which includes the bond. It would just need to be collected by the borough.
Quite frankly, we were more interested in getting this whole situation addressed and not worried so much about that at this point. The purpose of the meeting this morning was to expedite everything. The developer's anxious to do the work, and we're anxious to have it done, so that is our focus right now.
You mentioned arborvitaes. How many arborvitaes would it take to do that job?
Ballpark, my understanding, based on reviewing the plans, is approximately 30 arborvitaes would be located along that back property line.
But what was in your letter, your company's letter, as far as what you found?
Yeah, based upon our review of the plans, it appeared when you compared the development documents to the as-built survey and looked at the grades and the contouring on the property, that additional disturbance had occurred on the property that was not intended to occur based on the design documents. And I think that may have created some of the issues that it's occurring on the subject property. And again, with this additional infrastructure that we're recommending and that they'll be required to design and construct, we're very confident that the residents in the borough's concerns will be addressed. Continuing within the list, our office also issued year 2015 Borough of Maywood and Lodi sewer bills to the borough for utilizing to prepare individual bills on March 18, 2015. The next item is the Jersey Avenue and Parkway roadway estimates. Our office issued 2 separate estimates, one for Jersey Avenue and one for Parkway. Jersey Avenue estimate was $317,000. Parkway's was $614,000. Those could be utilized for bonding purposes and capital improvement projects in the future if the governing body so chose to do so. And then the final item on the list is the year 2014 annual stormwater report and supplemental questionnaire. In the past, the Borough DPW has completed these forms and submitted them to the DEP. There are requirements that need to be met by each individual municipality within the state of New Jersey. The documents must be submitted by May 2nd, 2015. Again, our office issued a proposal for consideration if you would like our office to do it, or if the DPW intends to complete the work, we wouldn't need to provide those services and/or charge that fee to the borough.
With regard to that, Greg and I have been talking about it, and I haven't decided yet who's going to do it, but I will shortly.
That conclude our report. I'd be glad to address any questions or comments that the governing body had.
Just before I forget, this is a no-brainer, but Roberta, just please, I don't know who will be in town at the time when they go by Peerless, just make sure the apparatus is out of the building before they do anything.
We were at a meeting at the same time that I spoke to Marini Brothers, and they were contacting the department directly themselves to make sure that anything that needed to be removed would be removed prior to them starting.
Okay, very good. Does anyone have any questions for the engineer? I find that particular property, did they find an underground waterway running by the driveway?
At Peerless?
Oh, at Peerless. That will be determined in the future. As the driveway is excavated, at the same time, we understand that the borough, DPW, will have a backhoe available, either coincident with it or within a couple days in the future. At that point in time, we would excavate a test pit, witness it, see if there's any different soils, debris, whatever below grade creating the compaction that you're seeing occurring on the subject property. We'd also determine and excavate to see where the groundwater was or if there's any underground streams in the area. So that will be evaluated at that time. Thank you. I'd be glad to.
Proclamations, presentations. We have a proclamation of the day. And it reads as follows. Whereas the Borough of Maywood has previously been named Tree City USA by the New Jersey Department of Forestry, and whereas the Tree City USA honor comes from the National Arbor Day Foundation, a nonprofit educational organization dedicated to tree planting and environmental stewardship, and whereas communities entering the nationwide program receive the Tree City USA designation upon recommendation by state foresters who co-sponsor the program, and whereas Tree City USA communities receive a flag with the program's logo and a walnut-mounted plaque, Tree City USA community signs, and maple leaf stickers indicating additional qualifying years, and whereas trees make a world of difference in our community, being recognized for the beauty and value of our homes, neighborhoods, parks, and business areas, trees conserve energy, help clean the air, protect rivers and streams, and provide homes for wildlife in certain areas of the state. Now therefore I, Adrian J. Fevre, Mayor of the Borough of Maywood, do hereby proclaim April 24th, 2015 as Arbor Day in the Borough of Maywood, and urge all citizens to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and support our borough's urban forestry program.
Going to pick out the tree tomorrow. We're going to the nursery to pick out the tree that's being planted on Arbor Day tomorrow.
Okay, let's open the meeting to the public. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Please come up, state your name for the record.
Okay, please do. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me say a happy Lawyers. You know, today is Love of Lawyers Day. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but thank
It
you.
is today. Every morning, if you listen to CBS News, they tell you what day it is. It's Love of Lawyer. And you and your mother are both working tonight. Your mother's got a council meeting in Lodi. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions. I had a conversation with the clerk on Friday with respect to forms online. Is there any reason why the borough can't look into putting the forms online in a Word program as opposed to a PDF program?
You mean Word format?
In a Word format, as opposed to a PDF. Make it easier for people to fill out a document and send it off to the borough without... And by the way, are we taking credit cards yet in the borough for anything?
No.
No?
Not that I know of.
It's
Somebody
very
was something
convenient
like
for people if you have your programs for the camp and the like, and different forms you can download, you can put the credit card in, the borough can do it. It can all be done online. Save a lot of time for the folks and the borough. There's a resolution on tonight with respect to open space grant, and I'm assuming that is the grant for the playground, because it says Spring Valley and Coolidge, and the only thing there is the dog park and the playground. Is that what it's for? What is that grant for?
It's
It's an open space grant.
It's an open space grant, but it's a revised one from
Revised.
last year.
For what?
The new parts of it are a fence at the playground on the corner of Coolidge at Memorial Park. I think one of the other ones, there were 3 separate ones, because we had taken out the conversion of the basketball courts into tennis courts. That was removed because of some public comment last year. And it's taken a while because the board didn't meet, and there was some number of things going on over at open space. So it's actually taken a little bit longer for them to approve this revision. So the new part of it is the fence. It's, I just went over this.
Pavilion/gazebo.
The pavilion/gazebo and
Bleachers.
the bleachers.
It just would seem to me that, I got some blank looks from the council when I asked the question, what it was for. It would seem to me that a discussion on this, an open discussion, as opposed to just getting the resolution tonight at the meeting, would be a better situation, my opinion. We used to have just a work session where the council would get into and dig into these different resolutions. As a matter of fact, we even had a second meeting between the council president and the administrator and the clerk prior to and discussing these resolutions. The tree resolution for the awarding of the bid. I see it's just under the bid limitation. How many quotes were there for that?
There were 2 quotes received. The 2 other people who had been asked to provide quotes did not respond.
Is there any reason why our truck can't do the work?
It's the truck doesn't do the work, the men do, and right now we do not have 2 certified people. There are 3 people that are required for every tree job, and this is financially more beneficial to the borough at this time, because one of the things that costs a lot of money is removing all the wood and debris that we
I
get.
understand, but we used to leave the wood out for the people to take. That said, and I also see you have stump removal, and we have a stump machine that would take that out. That's a very costly operation, removing the stump. We have that equipment. We have that ability. I don't understand why that's being formed out. And with respect to training the individuals, there's a course that's run in Hawthorne twice a year to teach people how to work around wires. We have the truck. And Rutgers has a very in-depth course with respect to teaching people how to trim trees. Because there's been some discussion about some of the way the trees have been trimmed. I would think that we should take advantage of the equipment we have and train the people we have, and we could save that money. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else? Speak? Seeing none, open it to the public. Correspondence and report of our clerk.
Okay, in your mail, we have received some correspondence about supporting resolution for the Transparent Tax Act of 2015. If the council wants to review it and have that on an agenda in the future. And that's all I have tonight.
Report of the administrator.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I know it seems a little bit late to say this, but as we all know, we hopefully won't have, well, I shouldn't say as we know, hopefully we will not have any more snowstorms. But I think that, and I don't want to take anything away from Councilman Linda now, but I think that the team that we had running the DPW in the last few months did a very good job taking care of the snow removal, and that the fact that our superintendent and the two supervisors were actually working with the men on a regular basis and sometimes on their own to complete a job, because there were so many hours that the men were required to be together, that I think that Gary Newman and Eric Fleischman and Roy did an outstanding job, because they were always there to help and finish a job when the men were too tired or didn't call back in, frankly. Secondly, as a follow-up to the new structure of management at the DPW, we've started to see some considerable savings. Small in the beginning, you know, with $10,000 here, $5,000 there. Gary Newman reconstructed 2 catch basins. Normally would have been a job that went out. The last 2 that we did go out to pay for cost us $3,500 and $4,500. In this case, we just had to pay a few $100s for material. And also, there's a retaining wall in the pool parking lot that's been crumbling, and we got quotes of $9,500 to $13,500 to rebuild that wall, and that wall is also being done by our Department of Public Works. So there are just a lot of cost-saving things that are happening. I think you all should be aware of it, and I think that it's great that these people have stepped up and are doing such a great job for us.
It's just an example of putting the right people in the right job. That's all.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Board of Borough Attorney.
Mr. Mayor, I have no report to give this evening.
Committee reports. Mr. Trevino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I spoke with the CFO. The paperwork has been completed for the budget, so we'll be able to have an update on that for the next meeting. And I had the pleasure of attending the Golden Age Club fish fry, along with Mayor Fabre, Councilman Massar, and Councilman Maroney. They had a great turnout and a lot of great prizes, except for Mr. Massar didn't win anything. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. So, Mr. DeHare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Building Department, year-to-date through March 31st, 105 permits have been issued, totaling an income of $25,405 in permit fees. Planning Board, there was an informal meeting held on the 2nd of April regarding the existing, or what was a nursery at the intersection of West Pleasant and Spring Valley Avenue. They came forth with some proposals, and the board did not receive that proposal too favorably, so they got back to the owner to come back with some additional proposals for that piece of property. It would not comply with the existing ordinances. At the Joint Fire Department meeting on April 6th, was very well attended by the fire department and the fire police personnel. And 2 things that the fire board asked me to follow up on, which I know are on the agenda. One is the status of the changes of the bylaws that they submitted to us to the council in November of 2014. And they also asked the status of the engineering evaluation for the firehouse on West Hunter Avenue, which has been addressed. Fire Prevention had a meeting last night, April 13th, but I was not able to attend due to a work conflict, but I will get a copy of their minutes.
Actually, there was no quorum, so no.
Okay, well, that worked out well then for me. But I will still find out what's going on and get back there, but that's my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. DeHare. Mr. Messa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Mr. Eisenberg, I said.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had the pleasure of attending a presentation by the Hackensack Water, Riverkeeper last night, and there was a lot of very interesting information, some stuff that affected Maywood as well. He went through the path of the Hackensack River from Lake Lucille up in Rockland County all the way down to Newark Bay. The river is in the best shape it's ever been, and the Riverkeeper is aggressively pursued anyone that polluted the river in any way, shape, or form, including municipalities. There are a couple of towns in Bergen County that he pointed out where their their storm sewer system and their sanitary system are one, and they actually pump sewage into the Hackensack River. And one of the towns that the waterkeeper went after was Richfield Park. And they don't have a new sewer system yet, but the situation has improved, and they regularly go after everybody. But one of the interesting things that he pointed out that affected Maywood, some of you may have heard of the Continental Divide, and to most they think it's just the middle of North America, but it's actually a line by which all rivers east of the divide go into the Atlantic, and all rivers west of the divide go into the Pacific. So Bergen County has some divides also. Along the Palisades, east of that, all of the stormwater goes into the Hudson River. And west of Fort Lee, Angler Cliffs, it starts to go the other way down to Overpeck Creek and eventually makes its way into the Hackensack. The third river that we have in Bergen County is the Saddle River, which goes into the Passaic River. And most of Maywood drains into Coles Brook, which eventually makes its way to the Hackensack River. But some of the western side of town actually goes into the Saddle River. The line is somewhere between Lincoln and Wyoming, where the water, on one side it goes to Coles Brook, to the Hackensack, and on the other side it goes to the Saddle River. And then that line sort of zigzags down through the southern end of town. So we actually have two patterns, and we're on the county divide here in Maywood. Mr. Messer and I just discussed meeting next week on Thursday to go over the ordinances and start formulating which ones we think need to be rewritten and addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Messer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Saturday, April 11th, was opening day. Park looked great. I want to thank Borough Stern and the DPW for putting the fields in the park into great shape. The weather cooperated for the most part, except for the wind, which made cooking hot dogs a difficult task. But it was a great day. The weather was nice. Of course, hot dogs on opening day and softball and baseball means spring is finally here. And knock on wood, no more snow. But days like that don't occur without volunteers. So I want to send a big thank you out to the volunteers who made opening day happen for both Maywood Youth Athletic Association and Maywood Russell Park Girls Softball. Without them, it would just be another day in the park. But instead it was a special day. For the Recreation Department, movie night at the library, Big Hero 6, we're going to call this Act 2, will be held on Wednesday, April 29th at 5:30 in the Hack Park Auditorium, and we expect a good turnout that night. And from the police department, a couple of notes. This past week, Maywood has experienced some burglaries of parked cars during the night. So on Sunday night, Monday time frame, Sergeant Moran took a proactive approach and went out on foot to try to see if he could apprehend or at least investigate what was going on, and discovered two gentlemen sitting in a parked car in a driveway, to which one was apprehended quickly, the other one was pursued and with the help of some other municipalities apprehended a little later on. Both were charged with counts of burglary and theft in Maywood. One party with assaulting a police officer, and that I have to give a shout out to Sergeant Moran for his thinking and trying to think outside the box and solving a problem here, a crime problem here in Maywood. So nice job. The Police Academy was a big success. Once again, thank you to Officer Perotti for all his fine work. On Thursday, Officer Perotti will also be conducting the Maywood Youth and Leadership graduation at the Maywood Avenue School. And finally, the drug box will be placed in the lobby shortly. And so keep an eye out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Messer. Mr. Lindenau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What Roberta said and what Frank said. You guys are doing a great job. They did work very hard to get the parks ready for opening day. And again, just as echoing what Roberta said, I think the current leadership now is really getting the department in shape and something to be proud of. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. And Council President Maroney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just a couple of announcements. Saturday, April the 18th, there is an electronics recycling event happening at Borough Community College. Saturday, May 16th, there's a shred event here in town sponsored by Borough Community Bank, both in Maywood and in Rochelle Park. Also, I wanted to read a brief note from Mr. Jordan. It is with regret that the Maywood Board of Education accepted and approved the retirement of Mr. Matthew Bernaducci. This gentleman had served the kids of Maywood for decades with professionalism and compassion in various capacities. His mark on this district will not be soon forgotten and most definitely not replaced. On behalf of the district and the community of Maywood, we thank Mr. Bernaducci and congratulate him on a well-deserved retirement. He will be most definitely missed. And I know, just from feedback from my kids as well, he will be missed. So, shout out to Mr. Bernaducci. That is it.
Thank you, Mr. Maroney. Just again, echoing everybody's remarks on the fields and the condition that DPW was able to get them into, considering the harsh winter we had. It's a great job. As you know, some of you may know, we redid the 2 of the ball fields last year, and we're taking care of the other 2 this year. So we are in good shape with our ball fields. I had the pleasure to attend the ribbon cutting grand opening of the paintbrush studio on West Pleasant Avenue. Wonderful.
No, I wish I knew about it.
Yeah, it's wonderful, wonderful facility. I would encourage everybody to check that out, as well as please go to our other businesses in town, local, shop local, think local. All my other comments are on the action list, so we'll take care of that right now. The vacant property ordinance. Perhaps this is something that we could deal with when we're changing the ordinance as well. I asked the borough attorney to take a look at the Borough of Bloomingdale's vacant property ordinance, because it was in the League of Municipalities book, and I looked at it, and it had a lot of the things that we've been talking about in there with regard to vacant properties. So what they have done is they have done a side-by-side comparison with ours and Bloomingdale's, which basically Bloomingdale's is based on the League of Municipalities one, what they have up there. So what I'm going to ask the clerk to do is sometime during the week, please get this to everybody, put it in their mailbox, and let's take a look at it, and then I guess the committee can take a look at it as well. And what we can do, if we can adopt it, amend hours, add to, subtract, whatever. We'll look into that. The fire department ordinance. The fire department is looking to amend their bylaws. In order to do one of the things that they're looking to do, we have to change our ordinance. I handed everybody the letter from the fire board officers, and basically what they're looking to do is just, as you can see, it's highlighted. Further, a person may also qualify as a non-resident if he or she resides within the city of Hackensack within 1 driving mile constraint cited above. They're looking to change that. And they're also looking to change the part where it says candidate must be a resident of the Borough of Maywood. I believe it's in an effort to get more volunteers. The driving mile, I think they're going to go to 1.5, I believe. But we will get that, so. If there's any questions on that? Anybody? The ordinance. We've asked some of the department heads to come up with their suggestions for changes with the ordinance. All of the department heads. The ordinance, we are at this point awaiting further discussion by the planning board. that will take place at their meeting. Fire Prevention wanted to review and update their section of the ordinance to correspond with the current state regulations. And the Police Department, the only change would be to include the fee amendment to the traffic control for contract traffic detail by our police officers.
For the vehicles.
Any questions on that? And then we have the bond ordinance. Want to discuss this? I handed you some suggestions, or at least this is what we're looking to bond this year. And before you, we are looking to do $500,000 in road improvements on top of the hopeful grant that we get. I'm assuming it's usually about $150,000. I mean, we put in for the moon, we put in for the stars, we only get the moon, we get the moon. But, so we'll add that to the $150,000. And then we are going to do some purchasing of badly needed DPW equipment. And that's close to another $500,000.
I just noticed something that somehow didn't get printed.
Sure.
There's one item in here for the sidewalks and sewer line for $50,000, and I just noticed that it's omitted. I don't know what happened. In between
You mean
the
total?
road improvements and the DPW, in that total that's at the bottom, there's...
Not in there.
It's not shown here. It
Okay.
was in the one I did, but...
Gotcha. So we're at...
The total is the same, but there's one item missing. There was an additional $50,000. We had been talking about this for a while, either sidewalks or sewer improvements, so we wanted to put at least $50,000 in this bond to start that.
Yes.
And
Because if you add up 500 and 493, it doesn't come out to 1,044.
right, and that's why. That's why. I don't know what happened, but somehow...
Oh, I see. I'm the only one, I didn't know what you were talking about, because I'm the only one with that on there.
Yeah, and somehow when...
Again.
I don't... My computer was being...
The goal is to go around and look at some of the really bad sidewalks. And if they're uprooted by municipal trees, the real bad ones, and see if we can take care of that, and also some sewer projects, the real bad ones. So,
But that would be ongoing, as we
Ongoing,
discussed.
like the-
Almost every year, we
Yeah.
would put that money in,
Minimum
because we
of
know
it.
there are some real issues with our aging infrastructure that has never been addressed.
yes, absolutely. So this going forward, we'd like to put in a minimum of $50,000 for every year going forward.
Wasn't there something that passed on the sidewalk safety program, going back in history a little bit?
I think there was, and then it was done away with, I believe, and then...
We haven't had it since I'm here, and I
No, I know
know
it's been a number of years, but
Right.
this is where the trees were uprooting,
Yeah.
where they
Right.
were fixed, not at the homeowner's expense.
Yeah, and then at some point it became the responsibility of the
Well,
homeowner.
by state law and by our ordinance, it continues to be the resident's obligation, regardless of how it happens. So by doing this, at some point, you'd have to make some changes in that as well.
Mhm.
I think what we do is if we are going to go forward with this, we have the engineer and Roberta and some of the DPW guys go out there and identify the worst situations, and we work from the worst down, you know, whatever we can get, whatever the 50,000 will buy us.
The international model 2015 truck, $275,000 truck, with the one-man leaf vacuum. If we're bagging the weeds now, why are we buying a one-man leaf vacuum?
Clean out
Library.
the catch basins and everything else where has nothing to do with leaf collection. It has to do with general maintenance.
Seems
But
like an awful lot of money for a truck.
Well, we actually need 3 trucks, and we wanted to try and make sure that we don't do everything at one time, so we're doing the one that gives us the most for our money right now.
This is a multi-purpose truck.
The
This isn't just a
multi-purpose
leaf
truck, right.
That's just an attachment
Right.
to this. It's replacing number 209.
This has a lot to do with salt and everything else, so it's not, leaf is just one small portion of this, but this truck does the most of what we need to replace right now. We need some straight dump trucks, but we're hoping to be able to put that off and put them in a bond the following year. And the other equipment, Backhoe is sorely needed. We're working with totally outdated equipment, and that's been something that's been on the list for quite a while, and it was also not, dealt with, so we're dealing with it. The Toro machine is something that we had a demonstration on last year. It does everything that we need to do to maintain the fields. Once we have spent the money to improve them, this will help us to maintain them, so that money does not need to be spent again. And that last truck, again, we need one more little pickup.
Now, with regard to the road improvements, we're going to finish up the Spring Valley was done in 3 sections. The plan was to do it in 3 sections because it's so large. We're finishing up the last section of Spring Valley. We're going to do the box on Grove Avenue and Elm Street, that intersection. If you notice that it's probably the worst in town at that point. It's just a big berm. So we're going to take care of that. We're going to do Lincoln Avenue from West State Street to West Pleasant Ave. We're going to do Spencer Joseph Way. And our grant this year was for Jersey and Parkway. So
State.
I'm sorry?
The state grant.
The state grant, yes. So depending on how much we get to that, depending on how much we get, like I said, probably 150. We're going to add another 150 to that. Go as far as we can, as far as that takes us. Then we'll finish up. If we're not able to finish up this year, we will finish it up next year. That is the plan going forward. And on top of whatever else. The thought is bonding some of this money and getting it done up front. Because generally what happens is you put the money into the grant and you put the request for the grant. By the time you get it, you're looking at November. And depending on the weather, you might not even be able to get anything out that year. So what we're going to start doing is doing some work in the spring. That's where this bond gets us, getting some work in the spring. And then when the grant comes in, fingers crossed, Parkway, we will take it from where we left off and go as far as we can with that. So, are there any questions?
On the road improvements, to what extent are we improving? Are we milling, just paving? What are we doing?
I don't believe any of
Well, all of these are milling, and none of these are reconstruction. The only road that we've had major reconstruction and the expense was so large was on Hunter. All these other jobs are milling and paving.
And what about any low spots for the manholes or the stormwater that are
I think
collapsing?
Greg could address that.
And any collapsing manholes, rims, grates, the basins themselves would be replaced as part of the road program and addressed accordingly.
We say I'm not so much concerned about the replacement as I am the reconstruction to bring it up to the proper level.
As it relates to resetting, that's always included. We always include that as a line item within the bids. Resetting of all valves, all inlets, all manholes, everything's included within
Would
that.
there be no curbing or anything of that?
It would be up to the governing body as it relates to. We could include it, we could not include it. It's up to you. You don't have to replace it if you don't want to.
I was just curious where the estimate, what we were planning to do under these numbers.
Typically, it's a straight-out mill pave with restriping, reconstructing, resetting any of the structures within the pavement section that we're addressing.
What is the average thickness of the pavement that we're putting down?
Typically, it's a 2-inch out, 2-inch in, depending upon the location.
Very good question.
Sure.
My terminology is mixed up. Milling is, what is the extent, what do you call the extent of what we did on East Hunter?
East Hunter was actually, what we did, that was a reconstruction. That was, we did use the milling machine there, but it was a deep mill. It was close to 8 inches deep, where we then replaced with the base and then put the leveling and top course on. In this situation, we're just taking the 2 inches of top off and putting the 2 inches of top back.
That was the worst road.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I understand there's different, as I've been told, different grades of pavement.
Sure.
Are we specifying particular grade of pavement that...
Well, it depends. As it relates to DOT jobs, there's a typical super pave that you're required to utilize as part of their DOT grant jobs. They're beginning to phase that out, but they haven't as of yet. Typically, we would utilize like an I-5, which is a finer graded aggregate for the top course of your roadway.
Because I'm seeing so many paving jobs everywhere that it's just so coarse that it just absorbs all the water, and within a year they're cracking, splitting, and they're spending a lot of money and they're just not getting their value.
Yeah, sometimes there are pluses and minuses with both, but the I-5 gives you the smoother surface course that you see at a newly paved roadway.
Thank you.
With respect to the $1,044,000 bond, in speaking with the CFO last year,
Is this a question?
no.
Oh, okay, sure.
Last year, the debt service, $1,500,000, of which $300,000 was interest and $1,200,000 was principal. So if we paid off $1,200,000 in principal last year, and now we're bonding another $1,044,000 this year, that means that we only knocked off a net of $156,000 in principal, with $12 million in outstanding debt. If we're going to reduce principal at that rate, we'll never pay our debt off. If interest rates rise, we're in some trouble. And I don't believe that it's responsible to bond $1,044,000 when we're not attacking our existing debt enough. We're not putting enough towards principal. We'll just have debt forever and ever and ever now. The debt is $12 million, which equates to 1 year's budget. So that means that if interest rates rise, now these bonds come due at different periods of time. They're based on what you bonded for and the life of the item. But every year, different bonds are coming true, and interest rates are at a 25-year low. 25-year low. They can only go up. If interest rates rise 1%, our budget, because coincidentally, our debt happens to equal about what a year's budget is. Our debt's $12 million and our budget's roughly $12 million. A 1% increase in interest rates can be a 1% increase in our expenditures. If it goes up 3%, got a real problem. Again, rates are at the lowest that they've been in 25 years.
Well,
That is one of the reasons why we just recently refinanced a whole bunch of our bonds to take advantage of that. So we've reduced what our debt,
But they're not long-term refinances.
well, they all have different expiration dates, you're right. But as like everything else does in life, so...
Nothing is really long-term except a building like this building or the memorial, or the memorial school addition. Only when you do like major real estate projects are they long-term bonds. All the other bonds are relatively short-term.
The only thing I can say to that is the alternative is to, and each one of these things are badly needed, so the alternative is to directly tax the resident that lives here today, as opposed to bonding for it and spreading it out over the life of the bond.
Or we make some cuts.
Well, listen, this budget hasn't been cut. There's nothing left on here pretty much to cut. The only thing that we can do
Bare
right
as it can
now
be.
is shared services, which we have done. And one of the final cuts that we've done last year was to switch to the state plans, which saved this borough $450,000. That was basically the last thing we were able to do at this point. So we are that budget is bare bones there. Bare bones. It's been at bare bones. We've gotten rid of a lot of weight in there, and we've shorted up. We've put in people that need to be in here, and they're making less money. And that's been a 4-year process. We are at the point right now where we can either turn back or we can go forward. And by going forward, we need to get this DPW equipment and we need to get these roads paved. Now, I mean, the only other alternative, like I was saying, is to directly tax the resident that lives here today. And in order to do this, I think...
Well, if you're borrowing, you're indirectly taxing.
Yes, you are indirectly taxing, but you're taxing the person who lives here today, tomorrow, and 20 years from now. as opposed to...
We're not
putting
doing
this-
20-year bonds.
Well, I'm saying the life of this, the life of the equipment, I'm giving it a 20-year bond, a 20-year lifespan, we spoke about that. So now, if you want to put this all on the person who lives here today, you're going to raise their taxes about $2,000.
I didn't say I wanted to put it all.
Well, that's what, I know you didn't say that, but that's the only other
What I'm
alternative.
getting at is I want to reduce the bond to some extent because we're only paying $150,000 in principal off a $12 million debt. And if you go at that rate, we will have debt forever and ever and ever.
And we will have residents who pay taxes forever and ever and ever.
God
That's the
forbid
goal.
interest rates rise, we're going to have a problem.
We're going to have residents that live here forever and ever and ever and pay taxes forever and ever and ever. And they're going to need these things forever and ever and ever. So like I said, it's unfair to charge the resident that lives here today all this as opposed to stretching it over time.
I'm not
Because
suggesting we pay cash for the whole thing.
you're not saying that, but what are the alternatives? You're not giving an alternative.
Reduce the bond size.
What would you like to
What do you
take
want
out?
to take
Because-
off after that?
So you want to take
I'd
off,
like to see a $500,000 bond and take a few things out.
so you want to take off a couple of roads?
Roads,
Desperately needed.
I think that...
I mean, it's easy to say that, but we actually have to look over there and now find out, because we already took about $500,000 off of what the DPW said they needed.
And I also think it's somewhat hypocritical that we're buying a vacuum truck for...
It's not
It's not a vacuum
a
truck.
vacuum truck. We had a vacuum truck.
Vacuums, and we're making our residents bag their leaves.
Derek, but the
It's not a
borough,
vacuum truck.
the property's don't there's nobody at the property to bag things at the borough property. You need the vacuum truck, you need the vacuum attachment. But if that's one of the things that you feel very strongly
Yeah.
about taking out, we
Take
can
it
find
off
out
of there.
what it costs. I'm
Sure.
assuming it's probably an attachment that's $10,000, but we could take that out if that makes you feel
You
comfortable.
just can't keep borrowing.
Well,
Derek, we're a borough, we
That's-
have to keep borrowing. As you go forward, you pay off, you borrow, you pay off, you borrow. It's like saying we just can't keep taxing, you have to tax.
Until 20 years ago, you never borrowed from any of this stuff.
But 20 years ago,
The
they...
law was changed, and look at where society is.
I don't know that that's a societal problem, but the law recognized that municipalities have to do infrastructure and capital improvements, and they recognize that you cannot attack the resident that lives here today because they might not live here tomorrow. And the resident that just moved in here tomorrow has no stake in this now if you're not charging them over time. And the resident who, God forbid, passes away tomorrow, just today spent all this money on all this equipment and roads, it's just not fair to that person. It really
That
is.
doesn't happen, that really.
Your relative might, Derek.
well,
Well, listen, that's why we have this sheet here, so we can discuss this. Now,
I'll get you the correct
realistically, if
one.
there are things that we can chop off of this, we could look at it, but I'm telling you right now, I can't see anything on the roads that we can take off, and quite frankly, we've already removed from the request of the DPW nearly $500,000 worth of equipment, in the hopes that we can maybe get that going down the line. But it's easy to say, let's take off. What do you see on here that you want to take off, that you know that is not needed? Besides the leaf vacuum attachment, okay? So-
I would suggest that the first thing we do is introduce the budget in 2 weeks. Take a look at the budget and then revisit the bond in early May.
well,
What difference do you think that's going to make, Derek?
it doesn't
We're going
because...
to be able to see what's being done in the budget. And right now, we're not seeing that.
Just as an aside, I mean, these numbers aren't frivolous. The numbers were discussed with the CFO in line with the budget, though they really have nothing to do with one another, but Chuck felt that this was a very reasonable amount for us to be bonding this year, and he knows the state of that, which he will discuss, and you will have, information in the next week or so.
The CFO likes that. I don't like that.
Well, that has, one thing has nothing to do with the other. When it comes to, with his qualifications, if he's comfortable from that point of view, as a council member, you all have a right to vote the way you please on this ultimately when it's presented, but as a professional, I respect his opinion,
As do I.
and then you have a right to vote, which I don't.
And
So-
another thing to mention is, because we are bonding for it, doesn't mean we have to spend it.
Exactly.
We are reserving
Well,
the
we
money.
usually do. But let's get the budget introduced.
Well, I think I want to introduce this bond ordinance for the next meeting, so that's why I have...
Aren't you introducing the budget also at the next
Mhm.
meeting?
Hopefully. Yeah, the 20, yeah.
28th, yes.
You want to do the bond one meeting after the budget so that the budget can reflect upon the bond.
Well, I would tell you this, that I like Roberta said, he is aware, and I believe he's putting that into the budget, he's aware of what...
But we're not aware, we haven't seen the budget.
Well, I'm telling you right now, he's aware of what we are talking about in the bond, so he will incorporate that in there for the service. But I want to be able to get this stuff done in the spring. The longer we wait, the longer it's going to take to get done. I want to get some paving projects done. And the DPW needs to support it. So you can vote as you say.
I'm going to have to vote no at the next meeting if you won't put it off for 2 weeks after the...
I don't see it.
We're probably voting no anyway, Derek, so what difference does it
We
make?
can talk about it, but I don't see any reason
Don't
to.
make presumptions.
Derek, I don't see any reason to.
If there were a sufficient amount of debt service in the budget, I would consider it as bond, but...
Okay, well, you can consider, you can vote no on the introduction. Or you could vote yes, because we will have him here at the same time. So we look at that. I mean,
On the spot.
you can ask the specific question that you just asked on the spot, and he'll give you a specific answer. Your mind can calculate that in your head, and however long it takes to make a decision, make a decision. It's not rocket science on that one part. You either get the answer you like or you don't.
But it's not a 2-second decision, it's something that you really...
The specific question that you said you need,
to study.
yes, but the specific question you said you need to make the judgment on this bond, he can answer specifically at that moment. If it's in the debt, if it's in the...
I don't operate in systems like that.
Well, at the end of the day, we'll vote accordingly. So, at this point, is there any other comments on the proposed bond? So, I would like to introduce this at the next meeting. So let's put that on.
Resignations.
Resignations?
Yep. Just want to see if there's anything more in the action.
Nope.
Resignations, acceptance of the following. Resignation of John Taylor as a member of the Maywood Fire Police effective April 14, 2015. And resignation of Linda McManus as a member of the Recreation Advisory Board effective April 14, 2015. Is there a motion to accept the resignations?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Trevino?
Yes.
DeHere?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Messer?
Yes.
Lindenau?
Yes.
Barone?
Yes.
Appointments approving the following. Number 1, Tyler Avon is a full member of the Maywood Fire Department assigned to Undyne Engine Company 1 effective April 14, 2015. 2, Yvette Ugabay as director of the 2015 full-day summer club program at an hourly rate of $21 per hour effective April 1st, 2015. Is that a typo or is that
No.
Okay. 3, Kathy Meglio is a member of the Green Team effective April 14, 2015. 4, William Grunstra is a member of the Green Team effective April 14, 2015. And Michelle Gervino is a member of the Green Team effective April 14, 2015. Maywood is certainly going green these days. Is there a motion to approve the appointments?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Trevino?
Yes.
DeHere?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Messer?
Yes.
Lindenau?
Yes.
Barone?
Yes.
House approval of the following. From the Rosary Society of Our Lady Queen of Peace Church, request to hold an off-premise 50/50 raffle on September 20, 2015 at 4 p.m., 400 Maywood Avenue, Maywood, New Jersey, 07607. From the Maywood Rotary Club, request to hold their annual 5K race on May 16, 2015, starting at 9 a.m. from Memorial Park, and posting of signs advertising same to be displayed at Spring Valley Road and West Pleasant Avenue, Maywood Avenue and Passaic Street, which is Nicholson Park, and Maywood Avenue and Essex Street. Number 3, from ALS Association, request to hang banner on the corner of Passaic Street and Maywood Avenue from May 11, 2015 to May 31, 2015. Promote their walk to defeat ALS to be held on May 31st, 2015. 4, from Moondoggie Coffee Roasters, request for an outdoor dining permit. 5, from Maywood Pancake House, a request for an outdoor dining permit. Is there a motion to accept for the approval?
Motion to accept for the approval.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Trevino?
Yes.
DeHere?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Messer?
Yes.
Lindenau?
Yes.
Barone?
Yes.
Resolutions by title.
Resolution 6215, a resolution authorizing the purchase of a 2015 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicle for the Maywood Police Department with funds from the DEA account. Resolution 6315, a resolution ratifying and confirming the purchase of tactical equipment for the Maywood Police Department with funds from the DEA account. Resolution 6415, resolution authorizing rental use agreement between the Borough of Maywood and Sky Swiss Club. Resolution 6515, resolution authorizing interlocal government services contract with the Maywood Board of Education for the 2015 Maywood Summer Club program. Resolution 6615, Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund, award acceptance. Resolution 6715, resolution authorizing the acquisition of federal surplus property from the Department of Defense through the 1033 program in compliance with the New Jersey State Senate Bill 2364 in the Borough of Maywood. Resolution 6815, resolution authorizing the removal of trees, stumps, and debris at various locations in the Borough of Maywood and ratifying payment thereof. Resolution 6915, resolution approving final retirement benefits of Police Captain Stephen Hoffman in the Borough of Maywood, Bergen County, New Jersey. Resolution 7015, resolution authorizing the Borough Engineer to perform construction management services for the West Pleasant Avenue Traffic Circles Project. And Resolution 7115, resolution adopting the Bergen County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Is there a motion for the adoption of the resolutions?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Sereno?
Yes.
DeHere?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Messer?
Yes.
Lindenau?
Yes.
Maroni?
Yes.
Introduction of ordinances.
Ordinance 2015, an ordinance adopting the drug-free and drunk driving-free zones map for the Borough of Maywood and amending Chapter 163 of the Borough of Maywood Borough.
Is there a motion for the introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Trevino?
Yes.
DeHere?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Messer?
Yes.
Lindenau?
Yes.
Maroni?
Yes.
Be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Maywood that ordinance 115 pass on first reading and that said ordinance will be further considered for final passage at a meeting of the Mayor and Council to be held on April 28, 2015 at 7:30 p.m. at the Borough Hall, 15 Park Avenue, Maywood, New Jersey, at which time and place all persons interested therein will be given an opportunity to be heard concerning the same, and the Borough Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to advertise the same according to law.
Gentlemen, is there any new business? Any old business? Any miscellaneous business? And do we have anything closed? Anyone have anything closed? I do not. I think so. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
You are adjourned?
Gina?